We have liftoff.
We have liftoff. And we are actually live. Yeah, we
Woo!
done it. Woo, woo, woo. With technical issues, but we got there in the end, didn't we? We done it.
Absolutely.
So I am Anthea Morphitis, if anyone doesn't know, the abundance warrior. And here with me tonight is the wonderful Claire Wilding. And you are the
Reboot catalyst.
the reboot catalyst. Okay, I like that. We're going to speak about that in a minute. I'm just going to play us our opening and we will be back in a second. See you guys in a second. Oh, before I go, I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about. We are going to be speaking about the attitude and mindset of someone in personal development and what it takes to be in personal development, to grow into the wonderful self you want to become. So we'll be back.
Yeah. Hello, we're back.
Hi. Yes, we are back. We are back indeed. I'm hoping the internet is where I am is going to hold through. I'm going to start with, I always say everything's always working out. So yes, it's going to hold through for us tonight. We're going to have a great show. Yep, let's go. So tell me about your title there, please, Claire.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm commonly known as the reboot catalyst. Because it kind of grew. It kind of grew from the way that I approach a lot of problems, the way that I help clients, the way that I have discussions with people. And to be honest, I was sat down, I was brainstorming one day with a coaching friend of mine, and we came up with the title because it basically says how I impact people in a nutshell. So I'm a catalyst that helps people to reboot. And I thought,
it.
I really like the ring for that, actually. That's a good one. So, yeah.
That's really cool. That's really, really cool. And it really does say everything, doesn't it? It's a great, great way to actually brand yourself. I love that. That's so cool. So you're new to the Warriors, are you?
I am indeed, yes, as of this week, actually.
Welcome, Clary.
Thank you. I'm officially on board. I'm in the family, and it kind of just happened, really. If I'm honest, I was having some fantastic conversations with people, and I got approached and asked if it'd be something, and I was just like, well, yeah, why not? I've got a lot I can contribute. So
yeah, it's cool, isn't it? And I suppose that is life, isn't it? 1 minute, I'm going to start with, there's so many people you hear saying, oh, someone had an overnight success. But actually that person's been or saying personal development or working towards things or working towards making a better version of themselves for maybe 20 to 30 years in some cases. And then someone comes along and ask them to do something, and then all of a sudden they're known, and people go, oh, that was such an overnight success. And it's like, if you only knew the story behind it, right?
Yeah,
because
definitely,
it's like you're on one side of the fence in 1 minute and literally on the other side in the other minute. And I suppose it's a bit like if somebody won the lottery, let's say. I know that's one of the far-fetched ones, but 1 minute they could have nothing and they look at a ticket and then all of a sudden they got 10 million. And it's like, everything is a split of a second.
It can very much be. Yeah, definitely.
But a massive build-up, right? And that's a massive build-up to that split of a second. So
it's true, Sorry, you can go on. Sorry.
No, go on, please. Say what you need to say. Please say it, please.
Thank you. The only way I would compare it really is, unlike the lottery ticket, where, like you say, it can be like an overnight, bam, you've won the lottery. What you tend to find in your path to success as a coach is they're more like building blocks. you know, and people see success in stages. People tend to look at it as, you know, a brick on a brick on a brick on a brick, and eventually all those bricks make the foundation, and then another one, another one, another one. Eventually you get to the next level, you know, because you're always learning, you're always developing, you're always growing somewhere within yourself, your abilities, your skills, your knowledge, your worldly wisdom, everything, you know. And if you look at it like that, it is building blocks, as opposed to suddenly, bam, you're
Absolutely.
an all-knowing, all-seeing person, which you're not.
Absolutely. You're not, no, because you're right. Everything is building blocks, even to somebody who won the lottery, let's say.
Yeah.
Even to that stage of things, they had a whole life before that, that they were thinking and feeling and acting in certain ways, or being in certain ways, or asking in a very powerful way for something. But by the time they got there, it could have been that they hit 60 years old and they won the lottery. So before that was all building blocks, and that block on top of block, and then they hit that level, and then it depends from that moment onwards what they do. So, you know, being in personal development, and I suppose I can speak for both of us here in the sense of we're both in personal development, as you just said, you're a coach also. You know, what does it take really, Claire? What would you say your take is on what's the attitude you need, and what's the mindset you need to be able to successfully implement the things you learn along the way, and be able to really add those building blocks to the point where you are in the direction of what you really desire, like the road on what you really want? What does that take? What do you need for that?
I think that's a great question, actually. Yeah, thank you very much. I think you have to start with desire. You know, you have to start with either a desire for change, a desire for, you know, being different in some way, or, you know, having that target or goal you want to achieve. You know, you have to have the desire for it. But first and foremost, because otherwise, why would you take the journey? You know? And then it's about breaking things down, as it always is, into, you know, manageable chunks. I think in terms of, you know, personal development wise, I not only had to learn about my craft, but I also had to go through a journey within myself, and realize, like, what are my challenges, what are the actual barriers to me learning new things, or, you know, what do I not know that I want to know, or that I need to know. You know, so I'm a very research heavy person. I research things a lot, I read up on things a lot, and I kind of work my way from one point to the next by looking at the next stage that I need to develop to get to that point. And then I break it down, because the way that you can look at things as a coach is, you know, I'm now here, but how did I get there? And then you go to the little steps that you can go through with people, you know, in order to help them get to the next level in their own lives. And I think that's probably a pretty good way of putting it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So would you say that a big part of that is the questions? You need to have that, I suppose, not just a desire, it's I'm trying to think of the right word here, to you've got to have that in you to want to know more. You want to know, how do I change from where I am to where I want to be, without feeling, that's the one. It's a drive, isn't it? The questions drive you. If you once you ask a question and you get the answer, it helps each individual want to then ask the next question. And I suppose your questions become stronger as they go along, right? You know, they become bigger in a sense. And you know, one of the questions I ask myself in the morning is, or I ask out, not even just to myself, I say it out loud, is, who can I help make a difference to their life today? Now, right? And I start my day on that question, because I always think it, and I don't necessarily mean just in work-wise. I mean, I could be out somewhere, I could meet somebody at any time, and it could be one word you say to someone that changes so much for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
everything you do and say, even though people don't realize in the big scheme of things, it does have an impact. You know, I still remember conversations that I've had with random passers-by in the street, just because I smiled at them, or just because I said something nice to them. And you think those conversations can stay with you, and those conversations can be remembered by someone for being something that's really impacted the course of their life. And it's important to remember actually that being kind first and foremost is one of the best things you can possibly do, isn't it?
Isn't it just, Claire? Isn't it just? It's, the act of kindness is so, so powerful. And I think one of the things that I got to learn was, it's funny because you can be very, very kind, and then people take that kindness for weakness, and it can flip over, can't it? Where people can then end up walking all over you because you're being way too kind, right? But I think you've got to learn where and when and how much of your time you're giving, so you're always respecting your own self and your own time.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I know, like, I've had many experiences where I've given, and then it's like, then not that you're giving to get something in return, however you feel like, well, I'm actually giving my time in a sense of I could have been helping somebody who really did need my help.
That happens a lot,
right?
it?
Doesn't it just? Isn't it one of those big things in life? And I think the attitude you need to be able to be in that personal development world. And I think the biggest thing is to say, I want to make a difference.
Yeah.
And if that's the attitude you've got, right, it helps you move forward, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, definitely. Making a difference can be anything from, like we say, just smiling at people, being kind, to actually helping them to kind of solve a problem in their life, or whatever it might be. But yeah, ultimately as coaches and things, we do strive very much to just make a difference and make people's world that little bit brighter, by sharing our skills, wisdom, expertise, or whatever else we have that we can offer.
Up our sleeve.
Yeah,
that little magic tricks, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think we're big believers in the growth mindset as coaches, aren't we? Yeah. Obviously there's different ways of people kind of having inbuilt belief systems. And inbuilt belief systems, for instance, like, oh, that's the way I've always done it, can be great, and they can be great foundations for people who are very disciplined, have principles, everything else. But obviously, in terms of people who don't want to do things the same way all the time, because it does result in them, knocking down their own boundaries to please other people, or, whatever it might mean for that person, you need to have enough of a growth mindset and a willingness to change and to develop stronger self-respect, in order to be able to not only help those people as a coach, but also to help them to help themselves, don't you? Because
Absolutely.
you've got, people who are willing to grow, change, and all that sort of thing. Fantastic. Not everyone's like that, but that's what you go through. It's a journey of a coach, isn't it? It's, you learn the people that you can help, you learn the people that you can't help. And yeah, it's all in the head. It's all in the mindset.
Isn't it just? And I think even with us as coaches, we have our own thing that we go through and we've got to overcome. And Adam just said, like, what is your belief system made up of, ladies? And, lots of things, right? And I would say from the beginning of time, from the time you're in your mother's womb is where your beliefs, even from your ancestors, from generation to generation, is where our beliefs have started from. And that's why I would say a lot of people will end up, if you look at the bigger picture in your family, you'll see a big cycle going on. And the ones that have broken out that cycle are the ones who really looked at their belief system and understood the difference, right? Because we are told so many things as kids that really hinder us in our adulthood, and we don't know why we're not able to achieve. Sometimes we can look at it as the most smallest thing, and it's like our feet are stuck in the mud as such, and we really can't do anything, and it's frustrating, and that can lead it can lead to depression, it leads to anxiety, it leads to so many different things because you don't feel worthy enough. And actually, it all stems from our belief system. Our emotions stem from our belief system.
Yeah.
If we, you know, like the way we speak to ourselves is our belief system. It's that self-talk, right? So I know, like, when I first wanted to write a book, and I remember thinking, who's going to want to read it? And I've never written, I left school with probably just 2 GCSEs, and they were in English language and English literature. But I was always told at school, well, most of the time I was kicked out of my classroom. So I spent most of my years standing outside the head office. So I didn't really get to learn, which I found was a big problem within the system, because how can somebody learn if they're just standing outside in a corridor day in, day out, day in, day out? You actually I could have lost my mind through that time, but it was only because I entertained myself, because I kind of like didn't care. But I wish I had the people. I say I wish, it would have been nice in that system to have people there to say, Anthea, the reason why you're acting like this is you're rebelling against, what's the deeper thing? What's happening at home? What's happening in your life? Spoken to me about my childhood. If they sat and actually got me to open up about myself, I probably would have, excelled in school, because I actually love learning, but I didn't because of that. And that's because of my beliefs of what I'd learned from a child. Like, oh, don't do this, or don't touch that, or oh, why do you, as if you're going to be able to do that. Like I said, when I wrote my book, I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to write a book as much as I wanted to write it. And I challenged myself in that sense to say, no, well, just give it a go, see what happens. Like, you've only got, no one's going to see you, no one knows. Right?
I think it's hard because, like, say for instance, going back to my education, I came away with plenty of GCSEs, A levels, and things like that, but I didn't necessarily want to go to university at that point. I wanted to go out and explore the world and kind of, just get my feet on the ground doing something, So I learned a lot of what I understand about the world through other people, and through the experiences that I had with people who were older and wiser, and all those sort of things that you might otherwise have not appreciated if you were just kind of reading it somewhere, So it was through having those active experiences with people that made me understand things in a lot more depth and breadth and everything else. So I often look back on those lessons where I've asked someone, they might be 90 something years old, and I always ask them, what would your best advice be to someone of my age? What would you say is the best advice? And then they come out with whatever it is, concentrate on your relationships, or don't get married in some cases, whatever it is. Okay, no, thank you for that. But no, there's some fantastic things that you can learn from older people, and different perspectives on life as well. It's very interesting,
isn't it, Jan? Isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But that's where I got quite a lot of my worldly wisdom from, really, was just talking to people, just getting to understand life from different perspectives. And as well as having my own experiences, of course. But with me, like, I've always wanted to understand more. I've always wanted to know different people of different backgrounds. I've always wanted to understand other perspectives on things and all that. So for me, my mind has just been like a sponge most of my life. Whereas when I was in education, funnily enough, I was classed not necessarily as a difficult child, but I was someone who needed extra help. And that was because of the way that the school system was, but a lot of people who, look at me and know now that I do really well, X, Y, and Z, they believed that I would do well in life, but just the way that it wasn't necessarily suited to the way that I learned. And I think that's very interesting. And I think that's definitely something to be mindful of when we think about the way that we, take on information. Some people are more practical than others. Some people are more theoretical. It just depends who you are, really. So,
Doesn't it
yeah.
just? And it is, and it's like this pigeonhole thing just doesn't sit with me. I just think, look, everyone's got their own strengths, everyone's got their own weaknesses, and it's just about finding your strengths, isn't it? And really
Yeah.
working on them, and what can you do to like build on that strength. And I know for many years for myself, I was very much in a victim mentality. Everything was, I always used to feel like everything was going wrong, the world was against me. What did I do? Why me?
Yeah.
I went through a lot of that in my life, especially because I wanted to travel the world, and then before I knew it, I was pregnant, and I didn't quite understand, but I wanted to travel. That's, not saying my babies, I love them. They know anyway. Look,
Yeah,
they
of course they do.
know
Of course,
they're
yeah.
my babies, and they're not my babies anymore, as in babies, but they're grown up now. But,
Oh,
I actually can have conversations with them about it now to say, obviously I went on that journey as being a mother, and actually a single mother with both of them. However, my desire deep within was to travel the world. And so
that's cool.
it took me a long time to actually adjust to motherhood
Yeah.
and I suppose the struggles that go with that made me really feel, and I didn't understand. I didn't even know it was a victim mentality. I had no idea that's
Mm-hmm.
what it was. I didn't know any of that back then. I just felt that the world was against me, and that was what it was.
Oh,
However,
won't
it
me.
didn't ever stop me wanting to achieve. I always
Yeah.
want, right? So it was always
Yeah.
like, no matter what adversity you're going through, I suppose if you've got that in you and you want to know more, like you said, one of the greatest things to do is to listen to other people and hear their mindset and where they're at and how they move forward, and what did they do, how did they build
Mhm.
those building blocks, how did they,
Yeah.
what was it they done. And that's
That's
where,
it.
right, because it was only about, I don't know, for a long time I wanted my own show. And it was an ex-partner of mine that came up with Attitude and Mindset about 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I want my own show called Attitude and Mindset. And and then when this came around, it was like, look, everything manifests, your desires come to
So,
fruition,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's a lot of it is faith, or going into personal development to understand your mind, understand your emotions, understand your belief system, understand
Mm-hmm.
what's hindered you, what's blocked you, how can you overcome that, what can you do, what's that self-talk that you have in your
It is.
head,
It's
right?
breaking all of that down into manageable components and actually trying to almost deprogram them, isn't it? By looking at it
Yes.
from the other side of it. Adam's just asked us a really great question, actually. What vision did you see that made you both say, I want to join the Mental Health Warriors?
Ah,
Ooh.
oh, that's a brilliant question, Mr.
That is a great
Adam. You want to
question.
go first?
Yeah, okay.
Go
Thanks.
for it. Go,
Yeah,
go.
why not? Why not? So vision that I saw. Vision that I saw was that, you know, I believe in the world being a lot more transparent around mental health, and being a lot more comfortable and open and able to talk about things and just an open dialogue without having some sort of a judgment or a stigma or anything like that, and just making the world and people's needs a lot more not hospitable, but a lot more like comfortable, and helping people to feel like they are just part of the world, rather than given some sort of a label that helps them to feel like excluded from it, or basically it was all the stuff around it, why mental health is something to address but not become an obstacle. There you go. That's it in a nutshell, before I waffle on too much.
No, it's brilliant.
That's what I liked about it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really cool actually, isn't it, in that sense? The fact that there is such an open conversation, and there is
Yeah.
so many different people from all walks of life that can come around and actually open up to be able to have conversations and not put it into, and again, pigeonhole, and be able to see people's perspective of each of each person, how they see the mental health and what we can do to make a difference. And I know for myself, when I first, I had been watching the Mental Health Warriors for a little bit of time, actually, because of Adam. So when he first started, I remember being so excited that he had got this thing going, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is great,
Yeah.
And I remember it being like nobody on here. I was just started, and watching his journey through it was quite profound, because there was times where he wanted to give up and he got back up again, and he would say, I can't do this anymore. And then if people would speak to him and support everything, and he'll come back again. And so just watching that journey, when we had the conversation, I was like, yes, I want to be part of this. I want to be part of this conversation, right? And it's so nice to meet other people, all fresh-faced people. Like, oh my God, it's so nice. Like, I met you for the first time this evening, Claire.
And definitely.
Straight away, we feel like, we've spoken for years beforehand, and we haven't,
I know. Oh, I'm glad you feel like that, though. Thank you.
No, honestly, it's so nice. So for me, just knowing that we could all come together and have that conversation and be able to, and obviously I didn't know how much it's going to grow like this. It's really grown. So I think the bigger picture of it is to really just make a difference out there with what we speak about, right? And what's going on, and how we can highlight certain aspects of things, and bring so many different conversations to the table, like from each warrior, what each person speaks about. I mean, it ultimately comes back down to the self, really, doesn't it? But there's so much to speak about on each subject of self to help and guide other people. There's, it's an amazing, amazing platform. And I always say I'm so thankful to be here. And so we're so thankful, right?
Yeah. Hello there. I'm going to say your screen name, so I don't know your real name. Believe in yourself. It's nice to have you on board. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, the lovely Anthea and I have just been talking quite openly around, why we're pleased to be involved in such a wonderful channel, and the things and the discussions around, like what people bring out individually to discuss, versus how nice it is to be part of a community that is so open and transparent and supportive. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much what we were just talking about when you came in. And I recently joined the Mental Health Warriors as of this week, so this is my first official live as a warrior. I don't know whether I'm supposed to do some sort of
I love it.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Claire, and thank you, because actually I done a big boo-boo on this week's one. I had a guest lined up, and it was quite funny what happened, because I had said to him Thursday, I'd expressed it would be this Thursday, so meaning today, and he'd said yes to the Thursday, but when I sent him a message, I'd put the 3rd of February, which was a bit funny. And then he phoned me last night and said at 10 to 8, we're going to be live in 10 minutes. And I said, no, it's Wednesday. He said to me, he said, I thought it was Wednesday. And I was like, no, it's on Thursday. So when we checked, it was like, but even though he thought it was Wednesday, I said Thursday. I had written the 3rd of February, which is next Thursday. So we was like, what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. I've had moments like that as well. And it's Robert. Hi, Robert. I remember there was one time when I'd booked a video call via Zoom, and for some reason Zoom had put the time back an hour. It wasn't like the clocks had changed or anything. It had just moved the meeting back an hour. So even though we confirmed it was going to be, say, 1 p.m, the clock put it to 12. So there I was, on the day of this meeting, with the other person just clarifying, just to make sure we are on for 12, aren't we? And I was like, oh, I thought it was 1. But it's because the clock had jumped backwards an hour. It obviously said a different time for them. And do you know what? Technology sometimes. There's just no need for the amount of
you, right?
It really isn't. Why do you have to make my life more complicated?
Absolutely. It is very much like that. No, but that's how you ended up. That's how we ended.
And she's frozen.
And came up straight away, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I was so excited when I heard your energy through wasn't even my direct line, it was through Adam's line to you somehow. I don't know what it does, but I felt your energy straight away, and I was like, yes, definitely, let's get Claire on with us tonight. So thank you so much for
pleasure.
Yeah, honestly, thank you. It's so nice. That's what we mean by, supporting one another and a tight family in this, So yeah, I mean, look, we were the subject here is the attitude and mindset of someone being in personal development, and we have covered so far, like the belief system. Claire was explaining earlier on about what it takes to actually get somewhere and the building blocks you need, and you add one to the other to be able to build yourself as such, and I suppose your surroundings also to be able to help you get into the right place. And I think a big thing on personal development and to go on that journey also is to be able to surround yourself with the right people that believe in where you're going, because you do it the other way I just want to be, how can I say, if you put yourself with the people, and I'm not saying there's bad people, I'm not saying there's good people, everyone is just here on a journey, everyone is experiencing life, everyone is finding their way through life. So when you think somebody's being bad, they might not have seen that they're doing that until you're in person.
It's kind of like having the right people, isn't it? The people with the right approach that suits the journey that you're on at that point.
Right, Claire.
Yeah, because say, for example, I can think of a particular group of people who have been fantastic and absolutely amazing in terms of my own professional development, my personal growth, and just fed me with nothing but positivity that has absolutely really helped me to blossom and have a lot more confidence in my convictions and all sorts. And if it wasn't for being part of that particular community, I don't actually think I probably would have continued. Because as much as I'm quite stubborn, I can be quite stubborn, and it's a blessing.
Are you a Taurus?
No, I'm not. I'm a Pisces.
Are you a Pisces? They're just as stubborn.
Be quite stubborn. I'm like I'm going to do this whether other people like it or not, kind of person.
I like it.
I'm just going to do it because it's something I want to do, and I'm going to do it. But even so, given that's my my attitude, there were times where it became very demanding. It became, sometimes too much at times, because being an entrepreneur, obviously you've got a lot of things you have to juggle, a lot of things you have to do to make it tick along. And there were times where I sat on my laptop and just thought, I can't do it today.
So, I'm with you on that one.
But I just can't do it.
Literally,
you have those moments. It's part and parcel of being human. It really is. But the point is, obviously, as a professional in this field, but also as a human being, we all have those moments. Absolutely every single one of us. We all have things that get in the way in life. We all have things that sometimes make things more challenging than they need to be. And it's just about getting up, persevering, and keep trying again.
And that's the attitude you need, right? It's that I'm going to do it regardless. And I think when you get into that kind of attitude and you get into that mindset of that growth mindset to think, well, I can see the bigger picture, there's opportunities, and the attitude of I'm going to pursue this. And I know there's going to be obstacles. And I think once you tell yourself, you know that these things can happen, it makes it easier when they come along, because you think, well, you know, I kind of knew I was not that I was expecting, not that you're expecting it, but you've kind of open to knowing that not everything's smooth sailing, you know.
Absolutely.
Right. So when you go, even when you drive down the road, there's, especially these days, they like to put a lot of bumps in the road, more than actually necessary, to be honest with you. You'll be driving along and all of a sudden, ba-dum, you're on this bump.
Potholes. Potholes.
Or potholes, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, but I think, you know, I think it really, even being an entrepreneur, or it can be, and I found that it could be very lonely also, like very solo to yourself. Like you said, on that laptop, I spent a year abroad, and in that year, I think I must have done maybe 17 hours a day on my laptop at times, you know, and that was just creating content, creating, literally just writing ebooks, creating online courses, right? And it just, and you just feel like sometimes I just need to see somebody, I need to have that interaction. But then the resilience, or that, sometimes I think, you know, I know for myself, I can get overly into things, and I forget that there is a world outside, and there is things that you can do outside of, like, just building. And I think so it's very important within building yourself to have that balance also.
Yes,
right? Otherwise you can go the other way. You can literally go into a big dip and really drop.
I call it going down the rabbit hole.
Right. Right. And especially if you don't have the right people around you, as we started off saying this, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and it's so important to have, it's so important. I think there's a few people you really need in your life, but it's very good to think about this at the moment. You need to have the person who's always bluntly honest with you. Fantastic person to have. They will always tell you exactly as it is and what you need to hear. You need the person who's going to be, you know, optimistic, you know, and you're right.
Sorry, I
Who's
just put
going to be optimistic and who's going to be like, well, keep going, you'll get there. Keep going, you'll get there. You know, that person is talking to your better self. So every time you forget why you're doing something, or you feel like you can't keep doing it, you'll always have this person in your ear going, well, keep going, you'll get there, you know, or however they put it to you. But you always need at least those two people. And the third one is obviously yourself. You know, you can't do it unless you're there.
Absolutely, you know? Claire. Absolutely. So true, right? If you're not participating in it, then it kind of drops down, doesn't it? It's not happening.
Yeah, otherwise it's not happening at all if you don't do it. So it's a very good thing to look at, I think. But also having, you know, people with similar kind of attitudes to you is so important. You know, I realized when I had to review my people I was spending the most time around, when I found that there was someone who was always complaining, or there was someone that was always kind of I don't know, talking about things that were nice but they weren't getting things done, you know, all that sort of thing. And you eventually get to a point where you're like, right, okay, this is what I have to give the majority of my energy to. Now I have to think about, you know, the wider circle, and whether or not those voices are impacting me positively, or if they're helping me achieve my goals, or if they're people that you're particularly close to, you know, and managing your time accordingly, so that you don't give too much energy to the people who are just going to sap you. You know, you give your energy to the right people, and the right energy will feed into your life. That's the way that I look at it.
Absolutely right. And then you just made such a great point there. It's so true. And I think that's where we can say you need to be, that's the right way selfish, isn't it? Because there's like, you got selfish in a way that's not really going to help anybody, and then you got selfish in that way where you have to look at what's happening and who are those energy suckers around you, who are the people that just want to complain. And I think also you know, as you grow in personal development, as you become more of yourself, as you show up as a better version of yourself, there's a lot of people who want to keep you as who they know you to be in the
Yeah, I'd
past,
say that's true.
right?
Yeah.
And they really don't want to see you. It's not that they don't want to, and I don't think it's done on a conscious level. I think it's very unconsciously done, where there's always be a reminder of your past, always to say, well, this happened, and remember what happened with that, and then you end up indulging in this conversation that you know is not beneficial to you in any way, shape or form, but they want to keep talking about what used to happen in your world, and you know you're not there anymore. This isn't who I am anymore. That person's, you know, that was right, it's gone,
that
it's
was
done.
old you.
That was the old me. This is the new me. But a lot of people, I find, can't always accept the new you because you're not predictable anymore to them. You're not.
And I think that's a very good point you've made as well, because people relate to things that they remember, don't they?
Yes.
People will always relate to things that they know have happened. You know, and there might be something that comes up that was like, oh, do you remember when this happened? And you're like, yeah, I'd rather not.
Thank you.
You know, it might be something you just don't want to think about, or you know,
or
you're like, well, actually, you know what I'm up to now, you know. But you could be talking to a person who's remembering level 7 you, when actually you're at level 20 now.
Right.
And you almost don't recognize those two as the same person sometimes, do you?
Right, Claire, yes.
Yeah, you think to yourself, hang on, was that really, no, wrong one. Was that really me? That doesn't even sound like me anymore. What are you on about? Like,
exactly.
This is me.
Exactly. And you know what? It'd be really nice if anyone could say if they can relate to this, because I think it is one of these things in life that as you grow, like you just said it so well, Claire. It's like literally there's these, like you're looking at that, you're going, I mean, who is that? Like, yes, you have a memory of that kind of situation, those experiences, but you're just not that. You know that that's not part of your world anymore, so you can't actually connect the two together. It's like this
it doesn't compute.
It doesn't compute, isn't it? Right? It's just so it's a really interesting subject actually to for a lot of people that maybe just, you know, you could be somebody who is in that personal development space, and you're really starting to see these changes in you and understand that and then there's people that come to you and will speak to you about your past and keep speaking to you about your past. And if you're really nice, you don't want to say, oh, can we not talk about it? But you, because you're just too nice to say that. But this is where you have to get that selfishness within you to be like, well, actually, that's not who I am. Let's, like Claire just rightfully said, let's talk about me now and where I'm going forward. You know, I've got this exciting project, or I've got a podcast that I'm going to be doing, or I've got, you know, or I'm you know, building on a coaching company, or I'm writing a little ebook, or I'm doing a little section on Facebook, or I'm doing a free something, or whatever it is. It's completely different to what it was 5 years ago. And
it's true. It's
right?
True.
It's a completely different, you know.
You're no longer on level 7, you're on level 20 something, you know. And
I love that. I love that.
I like that. Thank you. I like to make things relatable.
That's really cool.
Thank you. But there's also the fact that you know, you learn so much about yourself, don't you? You become a lot more conscious, and you become a lot more present with how things are. So you almost become like, not intolerant per se, but you almost become like, well, why would you worry about that when look at all the great things I'm doing now? You know, I'm quite funny actually. I quite subtly drop them into conversations. You know, I might do like a big post on my Facebook or something to say, oh yeah, big things just happen at the moment, but with me actually kind of bring it into conversations with people that I know. I'm like, yeah, I've been live on YouTube recently, or I've just done this, have you seen it? Or if you're interested, you know, just subtly drop them into conversations so that it's something that can maybe create a dialogue. But I won't be like pow, you know.
No, because you have your own consciousness about it, because you come to a point of this, like that you said, level 22, and
Mm,
it's now your identity has now changed. You identify yourself as a new person. Like, you came on here and you identified yourself as a coach, and you broke down how you do your coaching. Now, maybe 10 years ago, you might have just identified, just not just might have, but I mean, as in, like, you could have identified yourself as someone completely different to that, or on the start of becoming a coach, but you wouldn't have had the confidence just yet to be able to say, I'm a coach, or you wouldn't have had the confidence to be going onto YouTube, or even having that conversation with people, like,
yeah, yeah,
right? And every time you achieve something small, it can that every time I'm going to say, not even something small, it's just every time you achieve a step towards your desires, your goals, your intentions in life, I find it builds that and gives you that little bit more confidence.
I agree. Yeah, I
Right?
like that. But there's also that feeling of how do I put this? Imagine jumping into a new outfit, new outfit. Never tried this before. This is a bit bold, isn't it? Oh my goodness, that's a very vibrant color. I don't think I should be wearing this color yet. What do you think? Oh, I'm not really sure. It doesn't quite fit my waistline. And you have those feelings. You have those like insecurities, slight doubts,
Yeah.
and things like that. But then you realize the more you wear the outfit, the more you get comfortable wearing it. The more you go,
Yes. What a
actually, do
brilliant
you know what? That
analogy.
holds my figure beautifully. And you know
Yes.
what? Oh, my eyes look fantastic. And do you know what? I might wear this more often. And
Yeah.
eventually you get into a rhythm with it. You get into growing into a new skin almost.
Isn't it?
And realizing that, every time you level up, every time you try something a little bit more new, a bit more scary, a bit more
Bold.
exciting, the more confident you get. And
Yeah.
that's ultimately how it works. Like you say, with the doing lives and things. I could have sat on a live and waffled for hours, but not necessarily have said anything. And now I
Yes.
come on and I'm like, well, here we are having a planned discussion.
How cool is it, right? And
It's
that is
good,
just like
isn't
the
it?
best growth ever. Like, I
Yeah.
remember doing my first video back in 2014. Now, the person that I was working with was actually a friend of mine, and it took me 8 weeks for him to convince me to do a 15-second video. And every
Oh,
day he was on my back with me. Anthea, come on, you've got to do it. And I was like, no, I can't. I can't. Like, I'm just, how am I going to do? He's like, for goodness sake. He's like, you're so confident when I see you. He says, like, just do it. And I was like, no, no. And it literally was about good 6 to 8 weeks. And then one day I phoned up another friend and I said to her, will you do me a favor? She said, what's that? Will you come and help me with something? Will you just film me? Just hold the phone and I'm going to just talk for 15 seconds. Yeah. And because we had such a good banter together, she was
yeah.
like, yeah, I'll come. And I knew her energy would help me. So she came along to mine and we had so much fun doing these videos. I didn't want to stop, Claire. I was like, I love it. I love it.
Strike a pose
However,
for another one.
yes,
Oh, go on.
however, it
Work
took
it.
me it took me ages to actually watch them though. That was the
Nice.
next step, to actually watch them, because I didn't like the sound of my voice. I was cringy. I was like, oh goodness, I can't listen to that. I can't watch
Yeah.
that. And even today, like, there's times where I go, no, I don't want to listen. I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
But again, those steps will
Pages.
help you, right?
Yeah, definitely. Steps towards making those things happen. The more you do it, and the more you do it without thinking about it, the more you realize you can just do it. I'm a bit, I don't know if this is weird. I've always thought it's quite a weird thing about me. I get super nervous about something in advance, and then when it actually happens, I'm okay.
Yes.
I'm like, how does that happen? I don't know. But I've always kind of laughed at myself a little bit for, but in a good way. Like, look at you, we get so nervous, and look at you, you're absolutely doing fantastic here. You know. But the more you do stuff, the more you get comfortable doing it, don't you?
Absolutely.
And I love that example, actually. A chromed ski vest. I saw it and quickly exited the store. I could hear fabulous in my mind as I left the scene. I love that. fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us.
A chance
Yeah.
to do this. I saw it in quickly. So I have fabulous. Oh, they're
Yeah, read
brilliant.
all the comments.
Yeah, yes, I love that. I love that. So cool. But it's yeah, it's yeah, the
I don't know why I've got
attitude.
such a camp voice doing that.
And I went into silent mode and kind of missed out. I was just speaking tiny little bits of it.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, that happened.
That happened too, yeah. Well, this is the cool thing about being live, right? You can't really, it's just what happens, right? And I love that. I do love that.
Can you imagine having outtakes on this?
Oh my goodness, that'd be brilliant, right?
It would be. Remember that time when this happened? Oh yeah, here you go.
Excellent. We might have to take a few outtakes from the
Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, it's you know what? It's when I have to do videos for like training courses and whatnot, it's so funny because I find myself speaking so different and so like so scripted, and I'm so not natural. But when I do something like this, I'm so natural. But put record on there and everything changes.
What's happened to my voice?
So what happened to me?
Have I been overtaken by a mouse? I'm quite confused. Why do I sound that squeaky? Yeah, I often find that with myself on voice notes. I'm like, I really sound like that.
It's funny, isn't it?
It's very odd. Very, very odd. Sometimes my accent changes as well.
Oh, really?
What's happened to me?
It is all the learning curve of self, isn't it? All the different parts of us that we can find within us, right?
Here's a persona I didn't realise I had. Apparently it comes out beautifully in this voice note.
So funny, right? Excellent. Right, Claire, I think we've come to a good point on this on our lovely, it wasn't even really, it was quite spontaneous in us two getting together.
I hope it's been helpful to people.
Oh, I hope so too, yeah. Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Anthea. It's been a pleasure to meet you this evening.
It's been a pleasure to meet you as well.
Alive.
I know, it's like
a giggling fit.
Yes, my cheeks hurt actually.
Yeah, so do I. Should have facial stretches.
Wow. Now we're going to sound robotic, aren't we?
Yes.
Excellent. So where can we find you? If anyone wants to come and reach out to you, Claire, where can we find you, my darling?
You're most welcome to find me on Facebook as my name, Claire Wilding, or LinkedIn, same again. On Instagram, I go under Phoenix Core, which is CORP with the numbers 21 at the end. Phoenix Core 21, that is. And Phoenix Rise Life Coaching on Facebook. Any way you like.
Excellent. Well, look, thank you so much for taking your time out today and coming on this show. Like, honestly, you made my heart sing. It's honestly, it's been such a pleasure. As it's gone on and on, I've enjoyed it more and more as the minutes have passed by. So yeah.
It's been a pleasure this end too. I'm sure my other half's looking at me like, have you lost your mind?
No, not yet.
Anyway,
we're still here, fully minded. We're all right.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, if you want to do it again, just give me a shout.
Yeah, we definitely will do it again, 100%. And let us know when's your first official show on the Warriors, Claire?
My first official show should be Thursday at 11 a.m.
And British what's the show called?
British GMT.
GMT. Yeah.
Thank you.
Are we in GMT yet?
I think we're in GMT.
I don't know if we are. Are we GMT? Anyone know if we are GMT yet? I'm not sure because are we not? I don't think we're
time.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Let's simplify it.
Yeah. But yeah, that should be it. I'm known as the Reboot Catalyst, but obviously the topic of which I will have to let the wonderful Adam know this evening, and then he can advertise it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, listen, the best of luck with that.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. And if I will actually put that in my calendar so I can come and watch and I can support you on that one. It'll be so nice. And yeah, and on that note, it's been absolutely amazing. I'm going to end it. I think I've got to remember now. I'm going to put our video on to be able to end this. Thank you everyone who joined us this evening. I hope you did get something out of it. I hope it's helped you in some way or another. It was all about attitude and mindset of somebody in the personal development world wanting to better themselves and what it really takes. We covered many things into this hour, so if you want to watch it, we will be sharing it about, so hopefully you guys can catch it. And if there's any questions you have, please do shoot us a message. If there's anything you want to know, then please feel free to DM myself, and I'm sure if Claire has she'll be happy to accept any DMs as long as they're clean cut, right?
yeah, obviously be polite. Yeah, do be polite. But yeah, one final note I want to finish on is always find a reason to laugh every single day. So important.
I love that. Yeah, that's brilliant. And that's definitely an amazing way to end. Always find a reason to laugh. Always find a reason to be thankful for your life. Be thankful for where we are, for who we are, and the journey you've been on so far and what's coming in life, because we can always make things better in ourselves. We can always use the power of our mind to make a difference to our lives. Our emotions play a massive part in that. And where Claire says, find something to laugh about that will make such a difference to your well-being, to your mental health state, in every way possible, just to keep yourself doing the things that you love, doing what's good for you. And yeah, I think that's it really. So I hope to see you all soon, and I will be joining you, Claire, to come in your audience to ask you a few questions on Thursday, 11 a.m. UK time.
No pressure.
No pressure. No pressure, honey.
Bye, everyone.
We'll see you later, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.